damage they need to. Iwata can should be thrown out as well. My computer's not
He's
ready
still
to
around.
explode.
Dragon's in the game. He's still here. He's got 4 Marines. And there's another one pulled in, and it's going to get Neural as well. Instantly shot down. That's Talia not doing a huge amount there, but it's going to be obliterated in the process. And
looks like the Ravens trying to Hunter Seeker actually pointed out the point defense drones. Battlecruisers throwing down the amount of cannons, but here come the Vipers.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to Heart of the Swarm Exhibition. Today is Monday and it's 5 p.m. Eastern, which means we got something Heart of the Swarm going on. Specifically, we got King of the Hill today. My name is axeltoss, joined by axslav Monday through Friday. Again, 5 p.m. Eastern every single day. Mondays and Fridays, we got King of the Hill. Tuesdays, we got Arcade Spotlight. That's going to be a lot of fun tomorrow. Wednesdays, we got free-for-all stuff. Thursdays, we got show matches. Of course, last week we had a nice show match between Seed and Supernova. This week, I already got the players locked in, but I don't want to spoil it just yet, guys. Tell your friends this is going on and join the conversation on Reddit, Team Liquid, go to the Twitch chat, lots of cool people there. And of course, if you miss anything, youtube.com/officialmlgse2.
That's right. You can even join the discussion on YouTube. There's a comment section there. Participate over there. These are great games. I mean, you mentioned the Seed versus Supernova game.
Yep.
They were great. The other series on Friday, we had another King of the Hill. Crank just went through and crushed everyone, but there were some great games, and he actually had a couple really close ones where some top American players almost took down his Korean Giant. Go check those out on YouTube as well. youtube.com/officialmlgse2. Who are our first two players of the day for today?
First up, we're going to have TT1 and Goswser. And again, if you want to participate, potentially, if you're a good high-level Grandmaster player or a pro player, and you say nice stuff to me in the MLG chat channel, then you might be able to play. Of course, again, join channel MLG. If you potentially want to participate, of course, Wednesday is probably our most, and tomorrow actually, Tuesday, is probably our most community-involved days where we do take a lot of people from that channel. So again, anytime you potentially want to participate and it's available, join that channel and we'll try to get you involved. That being said, I'm going to ask if these players are ready. Got a PVT, or a PVZ I should say, to start things off. Of course, Crank did not... He wanted to sleep today, which is forgivable, which is fine. And he may show up a little bit later in the day and try to continue his streak, but again, he's at 5 win streak right now. He's the only guy who's currently undefeated. And these two players are ready, so we're going to get involved. Oh, and Crank just messaged me. That's hilarious.
Just shows up. We'll get him in next game then. How about he can take on the winner?
Yeah, well, I got Dragon already lined up next, so maybe after Dragon we'll get Crank involved. So many first world problems here in the MLG
Too many
studio.
good players. Whoever would think tournament or King of the Hill host would ever complain about that?
I know.
Wow.
Well, this should be fun. Of course, TT1 and Goswser. To talk a little bit about them, Goswser, you can follow him on Twitter at MILL Goswser, and people always like question, all right, why are you calling him Goswser? It's clearly Goswser.
Goswser.
Right, but the W is it's clearly 2 U's apparently to him. Right, I know, a lot of people don't understand that.
It makes sense, right? Yeah, how many times do you type your account name?
Oh, that's such a good point.
So you can save characters.
A little bit.
Yeah. You know, you hit 1 keystroke instead of 2. You know, I mean, he does have very high APM, so it's not going to take him that much time. But every time hitting that second U is one less instant of time he's playing StarCraft.
Now, Mr. Axelav, I may blow your mind here. You can actually save your name when you log in, so that it's there every time you log in. You don't have to type it in every time.
All this time?
All this time. See, what would you do without me? I don't know.
Well, what if you have multiple accounts on different servers and you switch back and forth?
That's true.
That's where you.
That's a good point.
Time saving comes.
That's why I have 3 computers at my house, 1 per each server. So I don't have to type in my name every time.
So each computer is saved with the 1 account.
Yes, exactly. So I don't have to worry about that. Anyway, his opponent in the bottom right, of course, on the team Root Gaming. His name is 6 Spartan here, but I can assure you his name. Oh, actually, our scoreboard graphic says TT1. It is TT1 from Root Gaming. Of course, you can follow him on Twitter at @root_TT1. And this is a guy like you really want to follow because he's always tweeting about the changes that happen to Heart of the Swarm, and he's really smart. Like, actually, I recall, I think it was in the past week, he's having conversations on Twitter with Cats and Idra on Heart of the Swarm and their units and all the changes that are happening. So TT1 has been playing a lot of Heart of the Swarm. He actually co-casted, was it White Raw versus Dragon the show match from 2 weeks ago. He co-casted that with me. Great mind, knows a lot about the game. And again, if you missed that show match, youtube.com/officialmlgsc2. Every single VOD from every single day, it all goes up there on that channel. So definitely check that out.
So it looked like he blocked Goswser's hatchery. Goswser decided, you know what, I'm not going to wait for Zerglings to knock down that place. I'm just going to build a hatchery somewhere else. Which does make sense. But the question I have is, do you think as people play this map more and more, the location he took, it's slightly closer to his natural than if you took the top left. Let's say it's a third. But the top left would also be much further away from the Protoss. Do you think Zergs are going to start taking a top left base instead of this more obvious third in the future?
It's very tricky because, you know, that's obviously why TT1 blocked off in this situation. He wanted to force his opponent to make that decision because I'm sure he has builds in mind that actually react to, depending on where that hatchery ends up going. So I don't know, it's very interesting. As you said before, it's a little bit farther away to this top left-hand location, but it is further away from your opponent's base. So that being said, I'm kind of okay with this hatchery at the front because then you can start spreading that creep really early, and you could get your creep all the way to the watchtower before your opponent pushes out if you do it really fast and really focus on that. So I don't know, I think you can go both ways, but I'm definitely okay with Goswser's decision to place his natural expansion here. You know, more at this more central location, I should say.
So there's also a big advantage is that when he's thinking about taking a fourth base, if he has this really well defended, there's that base right below it that'll be naturally safe from counterattacks because your opponent has to walk right by your third base to get there. So that gives you a nice advantage of having a safer fourth base. And he's very, very aware of the potential proxy pylon locations. We have Zerglings scouting all across the map, breaking to different little scouting patterns, taking both the watchtowers. Does not want to die to some pylon hidden somewhere. In fact, has he checked that? Okay, he's going right now, Zergling checking that potential fourth base location now. All around the rocks. Actually, there's two potential fourth base locations. Checking both of them. Very thorough.
This is a pretty expansive map as far as potential places pylons can be hidden. So I really love to see Goswser, you know, sending these links all the way around, making absolutely sure there's not going to be a pylon on his side of the map. Because two-base pushes from Protoss, those are the big things. Like, that's when you're thinking about Protoss, that's probably the first thing that comes to mind. All right, what kind of two-base push could my opponent throw at me? Making sure there's no pylon up there is incredibly important, even just to defend against the potential, like, you know, we don't see this that much anymore, but, you know, the 4-gate, even just the 4-gate on 2 base is zealot pressure. That can do a decent amount of damage if you don't have a Zergling scouting around, making sure that pylon doesn't get up.
Talking about those pressure builds, TT1 got the +1 attack upgrade on the forges on the way. He also got a very fast second gateway. So he's going to be looking to put on some pressure with just 2 gateways, but more units than just from the warp gates because they'll already have like 4 units produced before he even gets that warp gate technology.
This is a really cool build. He's going to have a lot of great offensive potential, probably going to hit right when +1 completes. Of course, if you're talking about early defenses from the Zerg, they have a few things. First, the Queens, and then they have the Slowlings. But we see speed is only just now begun, so there is some room here for TT1 to get some damage done. Mothership Core going to start heading towards this third base of Goswser. You're going to see the Lings coming across the map. Stalker is not going to get caught. And of course, TT1 could just fall back to this Mothership Core. He's going to start shooting from above, doing a decent amount of DPS. Actually, one Stalker getting a little bit low in health here. Goswser committing a lot to try to kill this, but I think that Stalker's going to stay alive.
It is, and that's a lot of Zerglings that all went down. That's going to force him to build even more because he doesn't have them anymore in his defense. Look how brave he is, though. Yeah, no spines at all. Roachborn's just finishing.
No speed.
Is he even going to build any roaches or just try to use pure Zerglings? Nice use of time warp there.
Now, TT1 has to be wary of the potential of speed finishing. He should know that is approaching soon. And he should be able to recall right when that happens. Let's see.
But he used that time warp.
He did, so he's not going to have the energy.
Now he's in a very, very tough position. That's why he's backing away here, being a little more conservative.
Oh, no. Speed is about to kick in.
It's about to kick in. But if TT1 can get behind his watchtower where he can't get surrounded, look at that beautiful positioning by TT1.
Great position. Of course, Mothership Core is fine above. Of course, Lings can't shoot up, so Mothership Core having a field day, going up to 9 kills. And while this looked bad at the beginning, it's not as terrible as it seems here. for TT1. Has 5 Stalkers alive, still lost a bunch, but great positioning behind that watchtower. Meanwhile, sending some Zealots into the third base. TT1 is everywhere.
He is, and I think that might have been a mistake by Goswser to engage in that choke point because he did get like 2 Stalkers, but for all those Zerglings, and now look at the trouble he's in. Yeah. Roach is having to retreat. He should be able to save the hatchery. Actually, maybe not. TT1 focuses the hatchery right now. He does time warp.
Yeah, nice time warp on the Roaches there. If anything, it can help him retreat even faster, but TT1 might just keep warping in units here. Behind this, putting down a third base, adding on probes. This is not an all-in by any means, just a lot of pressure. And it's making Goswser crack. He's having a lot of trouble dealing with this this force. And this goes back to how many links he lost much earlier. Units lost tab. Look at that, 24-25 to 850. 50 units lost to 7. He lost all those slow links much earlier in the game, and his trade wasn't as cost-effective as it could have been, considering he chose to engage at that watchtower when he could have just backed up, waited to get more units, and then engage all at once with a better position.
He could have, you know, that's something. When you have the faster units, you always can choose whether or not to engage. So you should really never have a negative units lost, because if it's going to be bad engagement, you just don't take it, you run away.
Right.
Unfortunately, Goswser made a mistake there, and now he's in this very tough uphill position where he almost has to do crippling damage to TT1 on his counter, or he'll be hopelessly behind.
I mean, it has the potential to. TT1 needs to throw Photon Overcharge on this Nexus right away, but he does not have the energy to do so. Trying to scramble, warping Sentries, Stalkers, 2 Immortals just now, 2 Robos, I should say, just now finishing, just now beginning Immortal production. But can they get out in time to save this Nexus? I don't think so.
The Nexus will almost for sure go down. The question is, will TT1 trade armies efficiently, even though he's going to probably lose that Nexus?
He might just turn this into a 2-base all-in. I mean, he knows his opponent doesn't have a third base, he just killed it. Sure, he lost his third base, still has a lot of probes alive, but adding on 4 gateways. He's going to have 2 Immortals, so I could theoretically see him warping in a bunch of gateway units and going for counter-aggression.
He could. I love Goswser's decision here, knowing that his opponent is going to have an army that's going to be prepared to deal with Roaches. And so he's already switching to Infestors because he needs Infestor attack to deal with the type of competition TT1 can throw at him. The other option, of course, could be Hydralisk, but with his low economy, he could not get a massive Hydralisk very efficiently, and 8 to 10 Hydralisks are not going to be that big of an impact as long as TT1 has great force fields.
Too many Zerg players make the mistake of not transitioning. You know, Goswser, like, they stick on Roach Link, but Goswser going to Infestation Pit immediately after he fended off that initial aggression. Already Pathogen Glands is about halfway complete, and this reminds me of the, there's a Pro League game on Antigua. It was a Zerg on my fantasy team. That's why I remember this, because I'm like, why aren't you transitioning to Infestors? This guy had, I don't know if you watched this game, he had 3,000 gas banked up. Do you remember this on Antigua?
Is that the EVA game from last, or I may be mistaken it?
No, that wasn't it. But some people watching know what I'm talking about, where the player just he stayed on Roach Link. He had 3,000 gas at the end of the game when he ended up GGing. But I can't remember the name for the life of me. But anyway, the point is Goswser transitioning incredibly fast to those Infestors. Those are going to be instrumental in holding off this this push here from TT1.
I'm not even sure TT1 should push. I mean, he can just take. He has so many probes, right?
He doesn't know about the Infestors, I don't think.
He doesn't, and I feel like if he expanded in tech for Colossus, he'd be in great position. But that being said, actually, he's gonna have 6 Immortals with this push. 5 already with the army. Yeah, you're right.
I don't know why he's not using it.
Even with Infestors, the high Immortal count of this army, Goswser has pretty much pure Roach. There's not even that many Infestors set up here.
Alright, Ghosters are going to be backing up here. The first Infestor's just now popping. He's going to try to engage here. Time Warp and Force Field's going down. Great micro here from TT1. The Infestor's coming forward now. And here comes a flank with Roaches from Goswser here, taking down plenty of these units, but still, 4 Immortals still alive, packing a punch. Submarines being thrown out here by Goswser, and this flank might be too much for TT1 to handle.
The Mortals are doing such an amazing job, though, but finally the force fields are out, the flank sweeps in, there's no recall, the Mortals are pinned against the corner, things aren't looking so good, but wait, more reinforcements for TT1 from the right side. He's pushing Goswser back.
Battle's going back and forth. TT1's reinforcements dictating the end of that battle there. Goswser is gonna back up. He's adding on more Infestors here. Needs to wait for these additional Infestors to get more energy. Income tab should be very interesting. 57 to 54. So TT1 does not have a third behind this. If he had a third behind this, he has the money to do so. He could transition out of this pretty easily. But that being said, he might be a little bit all in here unless he puts that third down. And if TT1 commits too much to this, I'm a little bit worried for him, because as time goes along, Goswser is going to be accumulating more and more energy on those oh so important Infestors.
I don't think he lost any, did he? No, he didn't. He's got 8 in the back now. I love that decision to give the hatchery. He already has a top left base. There's no need to be on 4 base. Another great flank by Goswser.
Going to be coming around the right-hand side with those roaches. Great force fields from TT1. Goswser forced to expend those infested Terrans on the field, but I think he's okay with that. And TT1's going to have to back away, finally putting down that third Nexus, trying to turn around, realizing he's going to lose units anyway, so why not turn around? Adding more force fields here, mixing in some more Zealots. A little bit starved on the gas at this point in time, considering he's been only on 4 gases for quite a while. I feel like he has to back up, doesn't want to lose too much more here.
That was an interesting decision. TT1 wants to avoid fighting, but he has to take the battles of the chokes where he can to stall for time because he's got the slower army. So I love the way he did this kind of tactical retreat, use force fields, fought a little bit, then when the force fields are trying to run out, retreat to the next choke point, used it again. It was really kind of a coordinated defense by TT1. And now he's going to fall back to his third base. If he can hold this, he's still in the game.
I don't know if he has a response to these infestors. Goswser is just adding on more and more, but he is getting a little bit low in energy here, throwing down a lot of infested Terrans. The force field's going down here from TT1. Needs to consider backing away and not engaging the infested Terrans, but he feels confident at this point in time. Roach is stuck behind those force fields. Immortal getting dangerously low on health. TT1 needs to pull it away. Oh, it doesn't end up going down. And Goswser has a 177 to 93 supply advantage. TT1, I think he's going to lose his third again.
It looks like it. The Roaches are pushing the army back. Goswser could easily back but snipe that Nexus. Instead, though, he wants to go for the kill. Wait a minute, decides that he doesn't have quite enough. Backs up, goes for that Nexus again.
Is this going to be doable for TT1 to come back here? The Nexus does end up falling, and TT1 might be forced to do another push here, even though obviously he doesn't necessarily have a game-ending army potentially, but what else is left? He just lost his third. Rebuilding that will take a lot more time. He almost has to make do with what units he has, but now Goswser is going to turn around with even more infestors and even more roaches. TT1 going to back away, and he's going to try to figure out an answer, but I don't know if such an answer exists.
If he can keep the infestors low in energy, maybe eventually he can rebuild, but he's got to get the mortal count up too, because he's at this position where he doesn't even have enough force fields to deal with the roaches, unless he has a really high immortal count. So he has to add more sentries, more immortals, and then also find a way to deal with those infestors. Maybe taking a third and going Colossi, but it's so late. I mean, his main's already dried up. And the more time that goes on, Goswser's economy is still very, very strong. I mean, he's mining off of 3 bases. TT1's mining off of a single base. That's not a good position for TT1.
Look at all those infestors. I feel like a couple fungals could mean the end of TT1's army here. Goswser gets a proper engagement, and now the infested Terran's going to go down. Goswser trying to press his roaches as close as possible. TT1's probes, he doesn't even need a mining because he's mined out everywhere. Going to pull them out and use them in the fight, trying to make a last stand, but Goswser has way too much swarming forward with the roaches and lings, and there's the GG from TT1, and Goswser is going to be your first victor of today's edition of the MLG Heart of the Swarm King of the Hill. Nicely played game there.
It was, and I didn't expect TT1 to go down in his first game. Remember last time he came in, he won 6 in a row. So Goswser saying, you know what, you have maybe a former King of the Hill. Actually, he is the streak holder. TT1's a current streak holder King of the Hill. But Goswser says, you know what, I know how to play Zerg in Heart of the Swarm. I know how to handle the aggression. And he took it in stride and dealt with everything TT1 threw at him.
Yeah, I mean, if I could pick a few things that happened in that game that that maybe swayed the momentum. Goswser, he lost his third base, right? And he was making roaches. He's like, all right, he's trying to hold off this aggression from TT1. Maybe TT1 not transitioning fast enough into Immortals there might have been something. But I love Goswser's decision to go for the infestors, not getting over-invested into, oh, I got to defend this attack, I got to make roaches, I got to make lings, but having the state of mind to say, all right, I'm eventually going to hold this off with the units I have on the field. I can probably do some counter-aggression. I have some time to put down an infestation pit and start teching towards those infestors, and I think we can both agree the infestors are inevitably, what ended up winning that game for him.
They are, and he needed them.
Yeah.
I mean, because he was on 2 base for so long. A 2 base Roach, Zerg, and Hydra is not going to be 2 base Protoss doing anything. Protoss can do whatever they want if the Zerg doesn't have tech and its equal bases. So, great decision by Goswser led to his win.
Yeah, and you think like a TT1 goes for faster Colossus. How much does that change if it gets a later third? He had a moment where he was doing a lot of aggression a little bit later, could have gotten a third a little bit faster, but such a fascinating game we had there. I could talk about it all day, but we do have to move on in this King of the Hill. Coming up next, it's going to be Goswser, who's currently on a 1-game winning streak against his challenger, Dragon. Stay tuned, guys. We'll be back with more King of the Hill in just a bit.